Greetings, Broadway babies. So it's been a minute, and this summer I went to New York for the first time in 3 years and was able to see some Broadway shows. And so I thought it would be fun to talk about that with all of you and kind of share my thoughts about what I saw. But I also thought it would be kind of boring to kind of just talk by myself. But luckily, one of my dear friends went to New York around the same time I did. And that dear friend is here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Jess McAnally from Musicals with Cheese.
It's me. I was in New York.
It's you. We both went to New York, kind of
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time, back-to-back trips. And then we both got New York COVID when we came back from our trips. Popped my COVID cherry.
Oh, yeah, mine too. We both got our COVID cherries popped by New York.
Woohoo! Thank you, NYC. We love you. $3, 2 bags, one me with COVID.
BA5.
What is it about you? Okay, so I have my shows right here, and I was really, really happy with what I saw. So I saw Company.
Hell yeah.
Into the Woods.
Ooh.
POTUS. POTUS. And, of course, the Pulitzer Prize winning A Strange Loop.
That loop sure was strange.
It was. What did you see, Jess?
I saw Into the Woods, Beetlejuice, A Strange Loop, and I also went to a Joe Iconis concert for funsies.
I love that.
Just because I wanted to see the 54 Below. I had never been, and I really wanted to go in there. So, yeah, those were my theater experiences, as well Broadway Con in general. So I got to see a lot of folks from Broadway. I saw, like, a couple panels from POTUS. So I, too, was in the same room as Rachel Dratch, much like you.
Oh, my gosh. And not just in the same room, but watching her, like, at her most Rachel Dratchiest. It's pretty amazing. Okay, well, let's start with the shows that at least one of the shows that we both saw. Why don't we start with this one? I'm rocking this merch here.
Was that the first show you saw in New York?
No, the first one I saw was Company. I actually did a Sondheim two doche. I did like a matinee of Company, and then I did Into the Woods that evening. But so let's talk Into the Woods. I was in literally the back row. I brought my friend Kyle Calgren, and we were right in front of the booth. Like, I was that dork who turned around after the show and was like that to them. So, literal back row, because that was all
back
I could
row
afford.
orchestra?
No.
Oh.
Balcony, like the tippy top back of the house. I loved this shirt a lot because it could apply to at least 3 different musicals that I could think of, not just Into the Woods, but Rent, and I have a moo cow, a new cow, a true cow. Moo. Okay, so
2 Sondheims and a Larson.
Yeah, exactly. Into the Woods. Okay, so did you have any understudies when you saw it?
Only one, and it was for the cow. That was our only understudy.
Really?
I know. So I got the Darce, I got the Bareilles, I got the Philippa.
See, I had 2 understudies. I didn't see Bareilles, and I didn't see Gavin Creel. So I had Mary Kate Moore and Jason Forbach. And they were great.
I do have a story about Gavin Creel. So I saw it before they even technically opened, because I saw it on
Was it a preview?
Thursday. It's not technically a preview, because
it wasn't an invited final dress?
No, I don't know, because it was opened. It was, but they just didn't have their official opening night until Saturday. It was just Thursday.
Okay.
So I saw it, and Gavin Creel, God love him, he made up lyrics. It's going swimmingly. The show's great. Everyone's got their stuff together. It's just a good time. And there was errors at all the shows except for Beetlejuice, but we'll come to that later. So he gets to Any Moment, and it's just like, anything can happen in the woods. Can I kiss you? Any moment we could be crushed. Don't feel rushed. And then all that. But then when he starts his second verse, which I think is, it's not Right and Wrong. It's the one before that. You have a princess, and I have a.
Oh yeah, I've bigger. How foolishness can happen in the woods once again, please. Foolishness.
Like, foolishness can happen in the woods once again, please. Then when he gets to this part, he's like, and then just pulls Sarah Bareilles in for a kiss, holds it until she says, but it's not right. And he gets right and wrong don't matter in the woods.
So he just ditches
Hold
the
on.
rest of the words.
We're not done yet.
Oh no.
Oh, he says right and wrong don't matter in the woods. Only feeling the blah 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 blee 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 kiss and pushes her off stage. He said blah 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 blee blee kisses Sarah Bareilles off stage.
Blah 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 blah. Blee 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 blee. Mwah.
And honestly, the audience lost their shit because if you're there for the Thursday pre-opening showing of Into the Woods, you know every word of Into the Woods.
Yeah.
So when he comes back in and he actually knows the lyrics to like the little bit he has before Moments in the Woods, they gave him basically a standing ovation for getting the lyrics right and finishing the song strong.
That's fun because that's
great.
one of those like you got to be there in the room when it
Yes.
happens moments, like those
It
theater
felt
moments.
special.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the show overall, the production?
I respect everyone that has a critique of it, and I cannot be unbiased here. I love this show. The show, the Into the Woods in general, I performed it in high school. It is such ingrained in me that it's hard for me to, even the bad ones I kind of like.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
even when it's bad, I'm enjoying myself. So when you've got some of the best performers out there nailing this book and finding jokes I didn't realize could be jokes and moments that could be moments, it's great. But then there's some times where I'm just married to a choice from like the pro shot. I think you've brought this up where I'm like, but sometimes you can make that sing when you try it. I appreciate that they weren't just replicating it. Especially Brian Darcy James made a lot of choices that are not the Chip Zan choices made in the pro shot. Where I'm like, oh, okay. Because the Baker can be a little bit of a nothing character if you play him incorrectly. But if you bring a lot of energy and a lot of humor to it, he really sings. Same with Sarah Bareilles in a lot of moments where she gets the Joanna Gleason of it all, but adds a lot of like contemporary spice that even Joanna Gleason didn't quite add. However, Patina Miller, you saw Patina, didn't you?
I did see Patina Miller, and Patina Miller is an amazing talent, but it is kind of like, I didn't want to make it like the Bernadette Peters of it all, but there were so many, I felt like missed opportunities with some of her line readings where I was like, this is funny if you do it right. And then sometimes I'd be debating whether or not it was just me being like, well, Bernadette Peters made like a really weird choice with like how she says, a giant has a brain, hard to outwit. A giant's just like us, only bigger. Milks it. Things like that. I didn't mind. Like, it felt very zippy and quick in a lot of ways, which again, I think is not a bad thing. But there were moments where I was like, oh, but no, that can be funny if you do that differently. And I think the most I felt that with was Patina Miller. But she was amazing. I mean, she's obviously, like, all of her songs were amazing, and Last Midnight was really great. So
I had this problem. Like, have you seen any of Heather Headley's performance?
Because I saw like the clips. Yeah, I saw the clips online.
So she milks both the seriousness and the comedy very well. Yeah. Have you ever seen Patina Miller perform The Witch in the Hollywood Bowl production?
I didn't see that.
Well, I watched that production. Yo ho, I am a pirate. And my first reaction is she is embarrassed to be funny. She is too scared of being embarrassed. It felt that kind of vibe. Because even when you look at her other work, which is like Pippin, she's fantastic. She never has to be funny in Pippin. She just has to be kind of threatening. And I read
charismatic.
Yes. And she is all those things, but she's very scared about being embarrassed. She is very scared about looking funny. So, that being said, I think she was a big improvement in this production from that, but that's not saying much.
Yeah. Well, and that brings me to like kind of it's not a sticking point, but kind of looping back to what you said, because the reason why these prices for Into the Woods are so high, it's not because of sets and costumes. There's really no spectacle to speak of. It is the concert, just without them holding binders, you know?
Yeah.
You're paying the prices to see world-class Broadway talent / pop stars do a
but if there's
musical.
a show to do that for, Into the Woods is that show.
Literally, like when I heard about this, I was like, well, I'm gonna see this. I'm gonna fly out to New York to see this because this is a once in a lifetime thing. But
Agreed.
like,
Same.
if I was a normie and I went the night I went and Sarah Bareilles wasn't there, and she was out for like a week. Like, even if I had swapped it for a day or so, it wouldn't have made a difference. Luckily, I like a good understudy, and like I like Bareilles, but like my husband is kind of the one who's like obsessed with her. And I like her; she's amazing. But I was kind of like, well, whatever. I'm gonna still see a bunch of amazing actors, and I felt like her understudy was really good. But I felt like a good understudy should. She was kind of replicating her performance. There were a lot of moments where I was like, that feels Bareilles-esque. So if you didn't care about these Broadway people, you might be a little like, oh, where's the sets or where's the props? But
what is the alternative though? The 2002 revival where there is no stars and it's just all
big dumb storybook sets. I hated that production.
A cow that dances, big sparklers coming out when the witch does spells.
Yeah, it was not great. It's way better, but it is something where I was like, okay, I get what I'm paying. I understand what I'm paying for with these prices because again, it's some of the biggest. I mean, I didn't even get to like Josh Henry. Like I was obsessed with seeing Josh Henry.
That is someone getting a small role and making a whole meal out of it.
He nom 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 every moment he could get, and I was like, yes, I am here for it. I'm so here for it, and I've been in love with Brian Darcy James since I was like 14, and I got the Titanic soundtrack.
Michigan's own.
Oh, he's amazing, and I've never seen him live. I don't think so. That was really cool seeing him. I think the thing that I long for in every single production of Into the Woods across the board is that love-hate chemistry that Joanna Gleason and Chip Zien had, and it's just not you just can't replicate it. It's just lightning in a bottle, because I went to that Into the Woods kind of reunion event in Orange County. I want to say a few years ago, but it was like 8 years ago. And both of them were there, and they talked really openly about how like they really kind of like butted heads a lot at the beginning, and now they have this like real love for each other. And you kind of see that in their performance, the way that they're able to like scream at each other on stage, but you're always like, I get it. Like, it just works. And I don't know if I've ever seen a Baker and his wife across the board kind of get to that same level. And that's not about this production, but I like talking about it.
It might have just been the vibe in the room that night, but Brian Darcy James really snaps in the final moments between him and his wife. Like, really snaps in a way that you feel uncomfortable, like a couple's fighting nearby you. Like, that was the vibe of everyone else on stage. It was like between gritted teeth, kind of scary dad energy, and it's different than what Chip and Joanna had, but this feels real. This is like next to normal Darce coming out right here.
Yeah, maybe it was because I had an understudy and they just didn't have like that same vibe going on. Maybe. But, No More is my Instacry song. It's the one where when I hear the first words come out, I always just daddy issues. I just start crying. And it's a beautiful song. The Darce did not disappoint. Like, oh my God, hearing him sing that was just amazing. I also think we don't talk about how both Nancy Opel and Annie Golden are in this cast. I couldn't believe I was seeing them. Like, my first trip to New York was in August of 2001, just a month before 9/11. And my first Broadway show was the Full Monty, or it was one of the first that I ever saw. And I remember Annie Golden's understudy was on, and I didn't get to see her. That was fine, but did you see
Patrick Wilson peen?
Sure did. But ever since then, I've been like chasing that Annie Golden, and then I was just really happy to see her making the most of all of her parts, the littlest parts in the show, Cinderella's mother and the stepmother, and then Nancy Opel was just Moira Rose's stepmother, and I love that. The scene stealers for me were Jack and Little Red, and of course Milky White. The puppets were the best thing about it. I love the effect with the giant too, with the big shoes. I thought that was a really cool effect as well. Did you have the big shoes?
I did have the big shoes. They almost pushed it to like where you can't find the giant threatening anymore. Like, I almost preferred it when you just didn't see any of her. Because like I get that, but like But still, when Rapunzel gets squashed, which is a weird moment in every version that no version has really understood, it almost worked here. It was like very traumatizing because you saw the feet. So there's a give and take there.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because I got into like a Twitter talk with someone about that, and they were like, "It's so random," and I'm like, "It's not random. It's kind of meant to show how there's no coming back from some of, no one's coming back to life in this act. Like horrible, really traumatizing things are happening, and they're happening without reason. And also, this girl is crazy. Like she threw herself under a giant foot. Like things are getting real, and that's kind of the point. You're not supposed to
giant's
like it.
foot not stop you squawking. Come on.
Yeah. Oh. But I do like that at least you got to have, again, because it's the concert style, they had Annie Golden upstage for that, so you could kind of like get that element to it. I like
that.
Yeah.
I like theater that isn't just like literalism. Like I think that's part of the problem with the movie is it takes itself a little too literally, and we're not talking about the movie. Specifically, I really like how they didn't mess with the music. Like that 2002 production was like, let's reinvamp this music.
Let's have two wolves so Chris Sieber can do something.
Josh Henry did enough without having to play another wolf. He, like, the baby carriage at the end answered a question that everyone has asked since the beginning. What happened to the twins?
Baby carriage, that was perfect.
He doesn't go off with, like, what was it, Snow White?
I'm so glad. Yeah. They just kind of imply it.
Yeah. Like, they're just always thirsty, but he's not gonna... I never thought
he's
Rapunzel's
got kids
Prince
to raise.
He's got a life to have.
Yeah.
I feel like if anything that Billy Magnuson kind of got right in that movie, it's that Rapunzel's Prince is kind of an idiot, but kind idiot where...
Yeah, he's a little better than Cinderella's Prince.
Yeah,
he's a little bit more of a himbo. I really loved being able to see the orchestra. They were letting the show stand on the book and the score, and that's important and that's good because that's really all you need. That's why anyone can do Into the Woods anywhere because it's just so well written. When I saw Company, they had the orchestra on top of the stage. So I got to see two Sondheim shows in a day that really kind of highlighted how great
the orchestra.
Yeah, how great the orchestra is and the scoring.
Before we move on, I do want to ask one last question about Into the Woods, and that is, how do you think it's going to hold up? Because it had its 8-week contract with all these actors. What's going to happen? Because they've extended. What's going to happen when Sarah Bareilles, Brian Darcy James, and all these folks that are big names leaves the show?
They're going to have to recycle them with other big names. That's the way the show, again, it can kind of justify its prices. It's Broadway.
You get to replace Sarah Bareilles, though. That would actually be good in that role. Like, that's the only one I can think of where I'm like, yeah, that fits. Emily Clark would be the only one I'd pick.
Of course. There we go. YouTuber production. Yeah. Well, there's got to be someone out there.
Yeah, I can't think of any, can you?
Can't think of any, but...
Ariana DeBose? Like, she's busy.
Oh, yeah. She would be good. And she's, you need the crossover appeal. That's the thing. You need someone the Broadway community, the New York theater community is going to want to see, but also that the tourists are going to want to see. And
Tina
she's a big
Fey
draw.
auditioned for the movie. That could work.
No. She could be like the stepmother or something. She'd be fun as that.
She'd be the stepsister, like not even like the mother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the next few months. But I feel like they've got a plan. I feel like they've got a list of people. Some of those actors will just stay with it as long as they can. Why not? And then they had like Cheyenne Jackson rolling for a bit. Is he still doing it?
No, he was just there while Gavin Creel was on vacation.
Yeah, there you go. So I feel like they could just do that same thing, like just bring in some new celebrity for a week or so. Because again, it's essentially the concert. There's no intricate set changes or costume changes even. Like
Sondheim's making money on Broadway at the moment, and I'm curious how the Merrily, because is that Merrily off Broadway at first, or is it coming to Broadway?
It's going to be off Broadway, and I think that is the best choice with Merrily. Yes. I think it should always be an off Broadway show because the thing is, you need the shirts with the names on it doesn't work. You need the
Yeah.
intimacy to be able to see these characters grow and change. I did hear that it's pretty confirmed that Lindsay Mendez is doing it, though.
What's wrong with that? That's good.
No,
Good.
there's nothing wrong with that. I didn't mean to phrase it like that.
And
No,
like,
I meant,
yeah, but I heard Lindsay Mendez is in it, so
no,
who has
it's
the...
literally perfect casting for Mary. And come on, Dan Radcliffe, forget about it. He'd be amazing.
Yes.
I just can't wait for how he's gonna sing Franklin Shepherd Inc. with his
I
weird
hear
little
it.
American
I
accent.
hear it already.
Inside. It'll be so good.
The rumor was before the Garfield assance, it was supposed to be Andrew Garfield, and they last minute replaced it with Radcliffe.
Yes. Ugh.
That would have been
Garfield
a
needs
thing.
another movie musical, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties would be a good musical for him.
Okay, so
All right, Company.
Let's talk Company. Yeah, I saw. Let's see. It was like the last week or two because it closed on the 31st, and I really liked it. I liked the take they had on it. It's a great score. It's a great show. It's a nice, fun little like concept musical. I liked the changes that they made. I thought Katrina.
How'd you like the
was really
staging?
good. I liked some of it. I feel like they started off with this conceit of these like apartments, and that's a big thing in the show. Have you seen any of the clips, or you've seen parts of it?
Yo-ho, I'm a pirate. I've watched it before it officially opened, technically.
Okay, got it. There's like some cool things like at the beginning where like it's like coming where like the I forget, she's like crawling into one of the apartments.
Yeah, like a manhole cover.
Yeah. And then I feel like that idea is kind of dropped. And it doesn't really come back very much.
Then you got like the Alice in Wonderland house.
Yeah. But there are other things I liked. I liked the way they did TikTok. I mean, if you want to see Patti LuPone dressed like Katrina Lenk sitting on a toilet, you got it. It's pretty hilarious. I know there was a lot of criticism with sexuality in the show. There were a lot of people saying that Bobby should be bisexual. And to me, I guess I don't really know what to do with that, because it's kind of like going like, well, that's a director's vision. Like, that's just like a choice that any production can make, and this director chose to have her be straight and just have the three people that she's dating just be kind of her fuckboys. And I don't know.
That's not where I think it hits the hardest, though.
I think it depends, because I'm her age. I'm actually on the other side of 35. There are a lot of moments where I kind of remembered my life in New York and kind of remembered the times when I was single. There were moments that really hit for me. Anyone can have a different interpretation of Company, especially now. Sondheim's gone, like, and Company is done all the time across the country because it has a lot of parts. And again, you don't need a lot of sets to do the show. You just need a good cast. And I think there's going to be more playing with gender with it in the future.
It sets a precedent, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I loved the take on Matt Doyle as Jamie instead of Amy. To me, when she was like, let's get married, I was like, me with my little Will and Grace ass, I was like, yep, I get it. I get it. Like that, it's something that was a thing.
But how did it hit? Here's where I have the specific issue with this production, and it's literally the one issue I have with it. And when Joanne's like, in the original version, it's like, yeah, come with me, Bobby.
Yeah,
we can go off.
We can make
and
it, yeah.
In this new one, it's like, take my husband.
Mm-hmm.
I think that moment kind of dies.
The only reason why I think it worked is because they laid the groundwork earlier that Bobby thinks he's hot, that Larry's hot. And when she sang Someone Is Waiting, she would do Larry, and when she'd sing it, you were like, oh, damn, he's fuckable. So even though it's not in the text, I did notice that Lank, or the director, laid a little bit of groundwork. And then there was the scene, then in that scene, I forget, I have my mom's old script from when she did it in college, but there's a moment where he's like, I'm going to pay the bill or something. And they had a little moment, and I was like, oh, okay. And then Joanne sees that and is like, why don't you hook up with him? So
she just wants to be cucked? Like, is she have the like cuck chair ready? Like, what?
I don't know. Maybe she's into watching. Maybe she's bored. I think the whole point is that she's testing it. She's drunk and she's kind of like testing it and pushing everyone's buttons in that moment. And Patti LuPone, again, she's so fucking good. I think that was the first time I've ever seen Patti LuPone live, and boy, oh boy, yeah, oof. I was crying. She's so good, man. Duh, we all know that Patti LuPone is amazing.
No, she's terrible. Juilliard graduate Patti LuPone, fuck that girl.
Right? The stoner couple, they swapped it so that the boy in the couple is, I'm sorry, the man, whatever. The man in the couple is being kind of the ditzy stoner. Mm. Oh yeah, Larry, and all their names. Sarah and Harry were great. They're always a really fun couple, and Samard and Sieber were wonderful. I always love Chris Sieber. He's so wonderful.
Jen Samard, I saw her while I was at Broadway Con at a panel, and she is lovely in person. I have like a book signed by her. She's really cool.
What were they talking about at Broadway Con Company? Anything?
There wasn't anything to do with company. It was It was a panel about fitness and staying fit and how to avoid the body dysmorphia kind of things that come along with it. It was important things to hear about. But it had nothing. It had 2 cast members from company, and they didn't talk anything about company.
Yeah, I just thought it was fun. It was fun to see kind of a show I've seen a million times, kind of reimagined a little bit.
The elephant in the room that everyone's gonna ask about, so I'm gonna be the elephant pointer outer. Katrina Lang's voice, how did she do?
I like her voice.
I do too. I feel like people are really cruel to her.
I think, again, in this world where every freaking brunette mezzo sounds the same on Broadway, I don't know. I like that I could pick her voice out in a crowd. And she sounded beautiful. She has this way of singing her L's really liquidy, and I just love that. I really liked her a lot. I thought she was fun, and I thought she was charismatic and bubbly. I love her little pantsuit. I thought she was wonderful. I don't know what people are talking about. She was an LA theater girl.
She can't sing the role, guys. She strains during being alive. It's bad, guys.
No, she does. I don't know. I guess it depends on the performance, but she didn't belt being alive. She belted what she needed to, but then she would go into her mix and head voice on the higher stuff, and I was like, what is wrong with that?
Yeah, I agree.
What is wrong with that? Everything. Nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. I really loved Andy, the guy who played Andy, the April character. I've done that butterfly monologue for auditions before, and the way he did it was so great. He's just so... It's so fun seeing that character kind of be like a dumb boy and having her be kind of the one who's like... horny. But I thought that the guy who, what is his, he's PJ in this one, who sings Another 100 People with his man bun. I was like, oh my god, his whole identity is New York. I've known that guy. It's so good. Yeah, I really liked it, and I think you're right. I think it's gonna open the door for a lot more interpretations of company later. The thing is the show is written in 1970. The 70s is baked into its sound. Is that upper middle class people in their 30s in New York thing that Sondheim was very much about, and translating that to the now. I thought it was good. I thought the way they translated it was pretty good.
And I also do want to point out, it is the last rewritten lyrics that we have from Sondheim.
Yeah.
This was one of the last, and I really like his rewrites, Another 100 People, Call Me in the Morning, or You Text Me to Explain. That's such a good cover.
Yeah,
that really all references to Analyst changing a therapist.
Yes, Analyst. It's so funny when people are like, company's closing. No, and I'm like, company revivals never really last that long. I don't think.
Sondheim revivals don't usually last that long.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, it's company. We've had a revival every 20 years now since the 90s. Actually, no. I think every 20 years since its inception, or 25 years, because there's the original and there's the 90s revival, and then there was the Raul Esparza revival. And now this. So every 20, 25 years, we'll get a new company on Broadway. Yeah, and in the meantime, you can see it at your local community theater.
And there's pro shots of it. There are multiple pro shots of it. I think the Neil Patrick Harris one is bad, but all the other ones are pretty okay.
The Neil Patrick Harris one. That was a concert, right?
Yeah. Have you read Neil Patrick Harris's biography?
I have, yeah. Back in the
where
day,
he's just I didn't rehearse. I didn't know anything. I walked in, didn't know my lines, and Patti LuPone just gave me shit about it, and I hated it. I'm like,
as well she should. As well she should.
So company, good. Would you give it a Roger Ebert thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Oh, a thumbs up for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can't see it now because it closed. I don't know. I don't know if there's gonna be a tour though.
They said there is.
Okay, so
There is.
it should be seen. Like you should see it, especially if you know the show, because you'll be surprised by things and you'll hear some new lyrics that'll kind of take you off guard. And it's fun to see a new reimagining of a good old musical. You shouldn't just do it just to do it. Music Man. You didn't see any Music Man, right?
No, but I did like bump into the group waiting for Sutton and Hugh Jackman to come out of the Winter Garden, where I'm like, oh. And I just walked by because I didn't really care if I saw Hugh Jackman or Sutton Foster in person.
Yeah, when I got out of Into the Woods, there was a huge line outside of Dear Evan Hansen because Gaten Matarazzo had just started.
Speaking of Into the Woods, going back for a second, did you try any of the Into the Woods themed cocktails?
Yeah, I did. I got a cocktail at every single show. I don't remember. I don't remember what the name was.
I got the rum-based one. I think it was like the Witch's Brew, and I had
think that's what I got.
The most jet-lagged headache in the world, and I'm just like, I'm just making it worse. Let's go.
Yeah, I got a cocktail at every show that I went to. Into the Woods was the only one without a personalized cup, though. It was a Jujamcyn cup, and they all cost like $30.
Want to get loopy?
Let's talk about Loop, Strange Loop, because we both saw this one.
We did. That was a last-minute purchase for me. Hell, that show is so flipping good. I will say it's hard to beat Into the Woods just because of the nostalgia factor, but this is like one of my favorite musicals of all time, and it was before I even walked into the theater. But seeing how they stage things in a way that I didn't even imagine, and I've never been shocked by a stage craft decision before in my life the way I was seeing this.
For those of you who don't know, so it's basically like it's kind of like a company in this way. It's like different little boxes, like these little panels that his thoughts are in. They kind of make up, it looks like a long wall, and they all kind of stand in them and they appear. 80% of the show, it's using those little boxes, very minimalist, very suggestions of places. And then it's not the second act because the show is a one act. We love a good one act. But then in like the latter half of the show, the whole stage opens and you're in a Tyler Perry movie with intricate, detailed, down to the bags of like chips, like on the counter, like set of like one of those Tyler Perry plays. And then the top of that opens up to reveal what is it, like a church, but like it's all neon and red and ominous
because they're in hell and AIDS is God's punishment,
and then they sing AIDS is God's punishment over
and make you clap along with it.
It's challenging. Like you're sitting there and you're like, this is still going on. It's a lot. Like I definitely had a couple people get up
and leave.
I think so, because they didn't come back. Well, I mean, if you're not ready for it, it could be triggering. Like it's just to have, and like the irony of it, and the whole like this is what you want, right? Like this is what you want from me, right? Mm-hmm. It can get lost, I think, if you're just being pummeled with that, and that's the point. It's challenging art. That's the point.
I had a different experience with the challenging art, where we were like in the third row orchestra because last minute ticket purchase, we got what we got. All four of us next to each other. There was an old elderly lady 3 seats down from us. Anytime they said the N-word, she laughed very loudly. And they say the N-word a lot in the show.
Yeah, they sure do. How was she during Inwood Daddy?
The entire audience was silent during Inwood Daddy because the staging, and especially if you're that close, because I don't know where you sat. I'm in the back of like all these shows. Okay, right there you can like see all the sweat, but we had a very specific thing happen to us. Here is theatery incident number 2, which is we had the lead come out, which was the lead cast, the first player, and then right after the opening number, which I think is Big Black American Broadway, he sits down and then they're singing "We Want to Know," and during that song you can kind of see they're pushing Usher down, But this time he pushes past them and just walks off stage. They finish We Want to Know, and then everyone leaves, and then the curtains come down, and they're like, we're going to go into a 5-minute hold right here.
What happened?
So for posterity's sake, we are in a 5-minute hold at a strange loop. After 3 minutes, we're just speculating, and Andrew just turns to me and he's like, what do you think happened? I'm like, I think actor illness, because the actor looked sweaty, but sweatier than you'd expect. I know
this is one of the thoughts. It's not.
No, it is the lead, Usher.
Oh shit!
Usher just got up and left the stage at a certain point.
Oh no!
And then they give an announcement like, "Hey, when we get it, it'll be the understudy, who was amazing, flipping amazing." And then as soon as he comes back, he's alone on the stage. We give him a big applause, it's a lot to step into it. And then he just fucking kills it for the rest of the show. But it did kind of throw off the momentum for the rest of the evening a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough though. When I saw it, Jaquel Spivey, because he's on the stage all the time. He had a towel or a hanky to really mop up the sweat, because he's up there all the time under Broadway lights.
Yes.
Working his ass off, because also it's a hot mother effing summer in New York this year. They're always hot New York summers. They're always like that in July and August, but I know this year there was not a time I was outside where I wasn't just completely soaked. So
we had the torrential thunderstorm one night. So that was the night we had to see A Strange Loop. So we had to figure out how we're getting to Times Square without drenching our entire bodies. So that was fun. It was just close enough where you couldn't take a subway, but not far enough that it was easy to walk from.
I got stuck in Central Park during a torrential downpour, and I even I packed my umbrella. I was like, because there will be thunderstorming, and I just didn't take it with me that day. So I was by Bethesda, and luckily I went into the tunnel, and then when it cleared up, I made a run for it, and it came back, and I was like, yes, just disgusting.
What were you wearing that day? Just jeans and a t-shirt?
Jeans and a tank top and flip-flops. It was...
I don't know why I was imagining you in a sundress and a sun hat walking through the rain, all majestic.
Those days are gone. It was I'm gonna be practical. I'm walking around a lot, and it's high. It was shorts. Yeah, I loved A Strange Loop. My only gripe was that I had some issues with the sound.
Everyone says that,
and everyone's saying that. And I have the script from. I haven't really been able to compare how it might have changed.
There are small changes, little additions to jokes. I don't love the new music choices. I don't love the orchestrations.
Okay.
I really liked how clear the original orchestrations were. It was a little minimalist in the orchestra, so you can hear all the words, but now it feels like they're insecure about the words, so they're trying to drown out the more intense parts, the ones that are a little bit more challenging to grandma.
It's like Hamilton in that way, where if the first time you see Hamilton, if you don't know it beforehand, you have to kind of just let it wash over you, because there's so much information coming at you in the lyrics. And that's kind of how I felt about this, even though I know... I listened to the off-Broadway recording. I was doing that a lot when the pandemic started. And then this one, I was like, oh, wait. I was a little more trying to grasp onto some of the lyrics, because I couldn't hear them as much. And I don't know what it is, whether it's just the venue or where I was sitting, or I have no idea.
It's been an issue throughout there. Have you seen them when they do late night shows? You can't hear a single word out of their mouth. It is an issue in their tech team, I have to imagine. They're just maybe it's a taste thing. It wasn't as much an issue for me, because I was third row. I could hear them if they were talking to me. So
the solos and whatnot, were pretty clear to me. Yeah. But then when they would all kind of start singing together, especially all those great layered lines, I was kind of a little confused. But then I kind of just was you know what, just let it wash over you, and you'll check the script when you get back home. Any other thoughts on Strange Loop?
No pun intended. There's about 6 of them. The performances of the thoughts, I really do want to highlight them as well.
Yes.
Elle Morgan Lee specifically has a lot of weight to carry in a lot of scenes. She also gets the best laugh in the entire show with Whitney. She also in Whitney. A sympathetic.
Yeah, God, that was so good.
What is a sympathetic ear? That song is the one positive moment in a weird way, and it's all on her.
I know. I love that. Yeah, the whole cast is great. All of them really have to
Yeah.
carry quite a load.
It's like the perfect kind of theater where it challenges you, makes you feel awkward. Their jokes still, it's not like a miserable night. I feel like a lot of folks are framing it as like a really miserable time of the theater. No, it's a challenging time of the theater. You'll have a good time, you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll do all that, but you're not gonna just leave it and be like, oh, time to go to fucking Whataburger or whatever.
It's not an escapist show. It's not what maybe a lot of tourists might be coming to New York for. It's not like Phantom or what else is there? Oh, Music Man right now. Yeah, or Beetlejuice. Oh yeah, we have to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll get to that, but we gotta do POTUS first. What was POTUS like?
POTUS was great. POTUS is so much fun. It's the only play I saw, although there's a huge music element to it, even a musical number in it. It's one of those plays where the set was amazing. It was a rotating set. It was so cool. So you're like in the White House, and there would be a scene, and then the set would turn, and the actors would be acting all the way while it was turning, and then the next scene would be coming in the next room in the White House. But that being said, you could do this show anywhere. Like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I want to read this with my girlfriends. Like, this is so much fun. Like, everyone was a scene stealer. Rachel Dratch, she's like kind of like the kind of meek, nervous, like secretary, like a role she's kind of played a lot before. Yeah, but then she gets drugged. And then for like the rest of the show, she is going bonkers. She's got like an inner tube and like blood on her and like,
oh God,
like blue slush, all this stuff running through the house with other characters like chasing her. But the scene stealer for me was Julianne Hough. She's always been good. But I frankly was surprised, like, with how good she was. She's kind of playing this kind of cutesy blonde Southern girl named Dusty. And she seems kind of one way, but she's actually, like, really smart. Very kind of, I don't know, legally blondie. But then she gets her excuse to, like, dance and sing. And she just kind of stole every scene she was in. I was definitely like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, you're a star. You're awesome. Yeah, everyone in the cast was so good. Vanessa Williams was really good. I love Vanessa Williams.
Yeah, she's gorgeous too. Like, I still like all three of them at a panel at Broadway Con. They are three of the most beautiful people I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. So who else did you see besides Vanessa Williams?
I saw Vanessa Williams, Rachel Dratch, and Julianne Hough on a panel.
Yeah, Julianne Hough is beautiful. And Leah DeLaria is always good. I just saw her in Head Over Heels at the Pasadena Playhouse. She's a genius. She's always hilarious, like always. And then like Julie White was wonderful. There were a couple moments like in the second act where you could tell she was getting flustered. Like she couldn't quite grasp the line, but her character is flustered in the moment. So she would start the line and then she'd go, ah, ah, and then she'd like restart the line. So it was really funny. And you could see the other actors being like, what? And then it's like the curtain call, they're like all singing and you can kind of film them. And it's just, I don't know. It's really fun. It's a good time. It's not super long. Like the first act is pretty quick, zips along. The whole conceit is that you never see the president. It's like kind of all the women around him who are kind of keeping him from messing up. And then, the act one, all these characters are kind of in this room kind of fighting and the shit's hitting the fan. And then one of the characters throws this bust of a suffragette and then it hits the president, and then they all think he's dead. So at the end of the first act, you just see his like feet sticking out of a door, and they're
perfect.
Yeah, and so then the second act is them like trying to finagle, like kind of like, we got this president who's knocked out, and then kind of going from there. So it's very like farcical and shenanigans. It's very like open the door and something crazy happens, and a lot of the C word, a lot of the word cunt being used, which is a lot of
hell
fun.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yes, me too. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. I really liked it a lot. So I really think it'll do well with smaller theater companies too. Yeah, I used to have this group called Play Club where we used to just read kind of plays kind of cold every week. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, shoot, I wish I still did Play Club because this would be perfect for that. Oh yeah, so the other thing about POTUS, I was not in the back row for POTUS because I bought tickets for the back row. And then when I got there, they were like, oh, we're closing the balcony, so just go sit in this row in the mezzanine. So I got to sit like a lot closer. So I got to actually kind of see when Rachel Dratch was running around in the audience and the characters were chasing her around while she screamed and had blood on her hands and stuff. It was so good.
I love the mezzanine. That's probably that's a fun place to sit. I don't usually sit orchestra every time I go see a show, but
yeah, I remember when I saw Hadestown, we were at the invited final dress, and I was in the front row mezzanine, and that was just the perfect place to have Patrick Page's basso wash over you. Okay, so I saw POTUS, so you saw Beetlejuice.
Yes, I did see Beetlejuice.
Tell me about the Juicy Beetles.
Oh, it's a fine show. Like, it's fine.
Is it geared towards the kids? Like, is it
No.
like a YA music? Oh, it's geared towards the fam then.
I would say it's geared towards teen to adult.
Okay, so it's like YA. It's like a YA musical.
Yeah, because it's a little edgier than like they say fuck a lot. They make them like blatant sexual references and all that.
Fuck a lot. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
even the movie just says it once.
It's somehow safer. Like Beetlejuice is less intense as a character, but more vulgar. He's closer to Deadpool than he is to Michael Keaton.
Interesting. Yeah, because he is very like rapey and menacing in the movie.
Yeah.
Does it have the same story as the movie, the same arc? Like, is Beetlejuice the villain to defeat at the end?
Yes and no. So he's more like a nuisance, and they firmly put Adam and Barbara as like B characters and made Lydia the lead with the goal, the emotion, the motivation. She's the one that like I am angry that my mom is dead and that nobody is left to care for me. And her goal and is using Adam, Barbara, and Beetlejuice to get into the netherworld to bring her mom back. So she is like laying out the plan and has.
So it's like Beetlejuice the animated series. More.
Yes, it has a lot of inspiration specifically from that, because I talked to Anthony King, who wrote the book for it a few years ago now, and they were encouraged by Warner Brothers to not just do direct. They didn't want a direct like adaptation of the movie. They were like,
and that's good.
Take from
that's
as
good.
much as you want. We don't want just a replica of what the movie was.
Yeah.
So, I think it leans a lot more into the emotional side, which is a shocking thing to say about a Beetlejuice musical. Specifically, Elizabeth Teeter, who plays Lydia, fantastic. Like, really, like, breaks your heart. She feels like a kid in a way that, like, Jack and Little Red don't feel like kids in Into the Woods.
Sure, yeah.
So I think it works, but at the end of the day, it's what you expect it to be. It's going to be a cute, fun musical, but the best part is just the special effects, like the cool, like little sleight of hand things. We were like second row for this one as well, and getting able to see how they do it is a lot of fun. Like Lydia floats at the end, like she just goes and starts floating, and everyone was trying to figure out how to do it because there's obviously no chords or anything. But I was close enough, and from an angle where I could see that there was a little bike seat that Adam puts there really quick right as she's walking by, and then picks up right as soon as she gets off, right under her dress. I was like, that's really clever.
That's cool.
So things like that, where you're trying to figure out how they did fun things on the stage, that's what this show is.
You see the ticket prices in the budget of the show. You're like, okay, well, they had to pay for that.
The most interesting thing to me was it being in the Marquee Theater. Have you ever been there?
I don't remember.
It's basically just a hotel
with
theater in it.
Yes. I don't think I've been in there, but I definitely walked by there.
The St. James is probably the prettiest theater, and the Marquee was definitely the most comfortable I was sitting down and watching a show. Which,
that's nice.
Where was A Strange Loop at? Because that one was it was a
at
pain
the
to sit there.
Lyceum.
I did not like sitting there. That place was not fun to be in.
It was a little small. They were letting the theater kind of paint chip a little bit. I was kind of like, really? Strange Loop deserves better than this, but
I agree. Like, the Lyceum was kind of an ugly Broadway house. The St. James was beautiful, and the Marquee felt like I was in a fancy hotel.
Yeah. And the Bernard Jacobs, where company was beautiful. It had these beautiful murals on the sides. Okay, so any other thoughts about Beetlejuice? How was the cast?
Fine. The cast is fine. Like, honestly, the lead was kind of one of the weaker elements to me. Well, I wouldn't call it the lead because I think Lydia is the lead. I feel like
Yeah.
they market it on Beetlejuice, but really it is Lydia's show. She's the only one with any emotional arc, and if you don't have a good actor in that role, the show doesn't work. Where Beetlejuice is just like zany and at 100 at all times, which doesn't require much nuance. It does require energy, but there's no heart there, and I feel like it gets oversold how important Beetlejuice is to that musical because you can put any excitable dude in there and it would probably work, but you
Sure.
can't just find a teenager that's going to kill this very hard vocal role and then also nail every emotional beat and be funny as hell at the same time. That
Yeah.
is the difficult tightrope that Beetlejuice has to walk, more than look at funny guy goes to swear and says bad words and does dance. Look at
Go
him.
square. Okay, so then in the movie,
Yeah.
it's really Alan and Barbara's story, and so they're just
Yes.
relegated to just side characters, or they have to kick off the plot so that they move into their house, right?
Yeah, but they're more like Lydia's weird friends. Like they are the B couple. Like
Yeah.
the A couple is Beetlejuice and Lydia, and the B couple is Adam and Barbara that are just like, man, that really sucks that that's happening. But we're too big of like pushovers to do anything about it.
Is Carrie Butler still doing it?
Yes, and she was incredible. She is
love her
so charming.
so much. I've been in love with her since Bat Boy, I think.
She's
and
so tiny.
I used to like look up everything. These are like the early days of theater fandom online, but like I would be in college on my blue iMac and I would look up like her website because I got so into Bat Boy. And then when she got Hairspray, I felt like so proud of her. And then she, you know, kind of took off and oh my God, I just used to be so obsessed with her. I'm just happy to know she's still doing stuff and she's good because she's
very fun in it. I just wish she had more to do in it. I feel like I'm happy she's stuck with the show as long as she has because Rob McClure left and Doubtfired it up.
Doubtfire in the Stephen Sondheim theater.
Oh yeah,
I walked by it and I almost missed it because it's dark right now because Doubtfire is closed, surprisingly. So
what? That show didn't last?
I know, God. Well, and we got The Devil Wears Prada. We'll see if that comes to Broadway. But
I was actually gonna think about seeing that this weekend, because I'll be in Chicago. So I was like, I could see it, but is it worth it?
If you can get affordable tickets, then you should.
I love Shayna Taub, so that was like the one reason why I'm like, because I love her 12th Night. I love what she did with Old Hats, with Bill Irwin and all that. Sad people don't like it.
Yeah, well, you know, not every movie needs to be a musical.
But there are some that could be musicals, like Beetlejuice. Like that idea works. Like that is both a marketing. Like that feels like Wicked in Brilliance, where it is not a replica of the movie. There's tons of surprises. The arcs don't lead to the same place. The story is just wholly its own thing. So I am grateful that it's not just like it's Mrs. Doubtfire, but they sing now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I hear that Devil Wears Prada is. Like, they just kind of copy-paste a lot of it. Kind of like the Bridgerton musical.
All right. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about in New York, Emily?
Let's see. New York is great. Going to see Broadway shows is so much fun. I don't usually spend all my time seeing shows when I go to New York. I mean, it's usually a big part of it, but I usually kind of make it a more well-rounded trip. But this trip, I was kind of like, I'm going to be that girl, and I'm just going to mostly stay in the theater district and see shows. And that was fun. But then on the other hand, Times Square sucks. Like, it sucks so much.
Yeah.
So I did have kind of my old New York days coming back to me where I'm walking around like, why aren't you moving? And stuff like that. I felt very pleased with the shows that I saw. I didn't want to like force myself to see anything that was just kind of meh, even if I was curious. Sorry, Music Man. I also didn't want to see like one of my favorite musicals turned into what supposedly it's being turned into. So
I'll listen to the cast album and
that's
deal with that.
Exactly what I'll do. Yes. What about you? Any other thoughts about your New York trip?
I saw Joe. I saw.
Oh yeah, you saw Joe Iconis's concert. How was that?
It was cute. So it was sold out, and I literally just went to the door, and they're like, I was like, hey, is there any possibility like there'll be any openings? And he's like, come back right at 7. So I went to eat. We came back, and he's like, there are exactly 2 openings. Come on in. And we
Nice.
paid like dirt cheap prices and walked in right in the middle of the first number. And it was a good time. And I had some drinks in the 54 below. It was a really cool thing. But that was also where I found out that George Salazar, who was supposed to perform that night, who I was just like 3 feet away from the other day, had COVID. So now I'm forever blaming him for giving me COVID.
George Salazar, you gave Jess COVID. How could you?
But when I did see him, he was at a panel with Grace Aki for the Lightning Thief.
Yes.
And yeah, that was a good time. That was fun. I saw a lot of those panels, like a lot of fun panels.
At the Broadway Con.
The Con of Broadway, yes. A lot of folks brought you up by name to me when they talked to me,
really?
So that was lovely. Yeah, I feel like I should have talked more about that, but that was a good time. You have
cool.
fans, baby.
That's so weird. Yeah, I know. It's weird how I just, dropped the Diana video and people are like, "You're back." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess
Of course
I'm
you
back.
are.
I'm back, baby." talking about shows.
It's very lucky that I get to be in a place where you never leave, where you're just always a fragment of my life, and I'm very grateful for that.
You say that now.
You are a staple of my life, and other people don't get the luxury of spending time with you. They only get you in the YouTube video form. So I am grateful for this.
Oh, thanks, John. I didn't tell him to say any of that. He's just doing it.
I do it a lot. I send a lot of drunk messages at 10 a.m. I love you so much. Thanks for being my friend.
Yeah, that and like bitchy theater comments.
Yes.
That we can't post on Twitter.
Yes, there's a lot of those. There's a lot of knowing looks here. Read
catty.
into it what you want.
Yes, exactly.
And crass.
Yeah, okay, well, hey, Moo.
Moo.
Thank you, Jess, for talking
Thank
New
you,
York.
Emily.
Yeah. And we'll be together in a Broadway
New
house
York.
in New York someday. $3,
Maybe
2
next
bags,
year.
no COVID. None.
This time, New York
Monkeypox
won't
this
get
time.
us. Oh no! I don't want that.
Not the pox! Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Did you see any of these shows? What did you think? What did you think of our opinions? Were we right? Were we wrong? We're right. It doesn't matter. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.